Welcome to Southern Sense Talk on Rumble. You are going to love Annie the Radio Chickadee Ubelis and her co-host, C.S. Bennett. You'll find them live here on Fridays from 2:30 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Date Time. Check out their website at Southern Sense, as in commonsense.net. It's that easy, southernsense.net. So sit back and relax. They're informative, fun, irreverent, and politically incorrect. You never know where they'll go, but you'll love the journey.
All right, welcome back to another adventure on Southern Sense. Boy, I had my back to the camera. I never start off a show nice, clean, and easy. Anyway, you're here watching Southern Sense live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, Rumble, and Substack, as well as being able to be heard all over the place or via audio, like Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, and every other place you can think of. Just Google Southern Sense, and you'll find us there, as well as go to our website, southernsense.net. I'm your hostess with the least mostest, Annie the Chickadee, along with my co-host, the author, prodigious author, Curtis C.S. Bennett. Wow, we got ourselves a lot to talk about, a lot to do, Curtis. We got ourselves some great guests here lined up. We've got Ken Good, who is a noted attorney, and he's also an attorney for a bail bondsman, but he's also a board member of the Professional Bondsmen of Texas. And he's going to be talking about bond review and everything else that's going crazy in the country here. We also have with us Maureen Steele and Annie Vandersteel. They're co-founders of the American Made Foundation, which is a grassroots organization that touches just about every subject you can possibly think of. So we're going to have a lot of fun with them. So we got a great show here.
Yeah, I think I missed that one before. I might have had a guest host sitting in for me, but sounds like they're going to be great today.
Yeah, I think Ted Yoho was with us when Anne was with us. I believe it was Annie Vandersteel that was with us. And that was a rocking show. We had an absolute blast. Next week, the guy that has that book out, Don't Pay Taxes Anymore, Mark Kwan is going to be with us. So we got ourselves some great lineups coming in. Also, I have a friend of mine. He's actually a neighbor who wrote a book, John Bebbington. He was on a few years back, but he's got an interesting post-Civil War novel. And it deals with the town I live in. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Wow. Yep.
Well, maybe we can get a chance to ask our guests what they think about the FBI building being closed down and all these FBIs being spread across the country. I think that's a great idea, Pastel.
Well, you still need a headquarters. You do need a central hub. So I don't see them closed in the building per se, but they will transfer agents to offices throughout the nation. Yeah, definitely. But you still need some sort of a headquarters in order to control everything.
Yeah, you're right. But I just thought I saw that they were going to close that down, that building completely down.
Well, so sure. If you're going to move them into smaller headquarters, sure. Yeah. I sell the building, put the money back in the taxpayer pocket.
Yeah.
You know, back in the early 1930s, before 1932, I think, the amount of taxes the average citizen paid to the federal government was only 16%. Today, it's 60% and rising, depending upon whether or not this budget goes through or gets altered before it gets passed. Can you imagine 60% of what you earn goes to the federal government? Not 16%. I think we need to invert those numbers and go back to the 16%.
Well, I think Trump is doing his best to reverse that.
No, I hope so. I hope so. But I don't know if very many people know, and I have not seen it in very many places in the news, but this week is National Police Week. And this is from the office of the White House, where they did declare this week. And I'm just trying to see where this was from the vice president, where he made a couple of statements about Police Week. But when you talk about Police Week, and for those listeners who are not aware that I'm retired out of law enforcement, I was a business owner and business manager. I left the corporate world to become a police officer. So this is a near and dear to me, having lost friends in the line of duty, having stood that blue line at the funerals, having friends that were injured and standing there, being there for their family, giving each other a lending hand. It's one of the toughest jobs that you could have, because you never know if you're going to make it home at night. You honestly don't know, unless you're given a cushy desk job. But when you're out there on the street doing your job, hard work that for many of us, sometimes you wonder, am I going to make this one?
I could military, when you go out on raids and things like that, you never know. Going to make it back.
Well, in my mind, I always thought to myself, well, you guys don't get to go home for months or years on end. I know that I have the ability to go back home to my home every night. But when you're out there on the street, sometimes you don't know if you're going to make it to that final step to be able to go home to your loved ones. So this is Police Week, and it affects not just those of us that serve in law enforcement, but it affects our families. It does. Because there they are worrying about you, wondering if mommy and daddy or your brother or sister or aunt and uncle are going to make it home that night and be able to spend the holidays with you. How many holidays and birthdays and things that we've missed because we were out there protecting and defending. So today, the show is partially dedicated to my fellow officers out there for Police Week. But we also have a dedication to a fallen officer. So those that watch our show know we start off each and every show with a dedication to a fallen hero. And today's dedication is going out to Detention Officer Isaiah Patrick Bias of the Ellis County Sheriff's Office in Texas. His end of watch was Monday, December 16th of 2024.
Tonight, the Texas Rangers are investigating the death of an Ellis County detention officer. Investigators say an inmate killed Officer Isaiah Bias yesterday. He had been with the department for 6 years, and court records show the attack was captured on jail surveillance cameras. Sophia Beausoleil has more from Waxahachie.
The Ellis County Sheriff says detention officer Isaiah Bias was moving an inmate back to his cell when the inmate attacked and killed the officer.
Ellis County Sheriff Brad Norman says 28-year-old Isaiah Bias was a detention officer who was family-oriented and enjoyed the profession of law enforcement.
He loved what he did. He loved the people he worked with, and everybody around him loved him.
The sheriff first met Bias as a teen when he signed up for their Explorers program. After attending Navarro College, Bias joined the Ellis County Sheriff's Office almost 7 years ago. But on Monday afternoon, whatever hopes and dreams the officer had for his career came to an end.
I can honestly say that my staff over the last day has dealt with pure evil.
The sheriff's office says 45-year-old Aaron Simeon Thompson was in the Ellis County Jail since last month with 3 counts of assault on a public servant and evading arrest. The sheriff says the inmate was isolated in a cell for 23 hours a day with only an hour of recreation time. According to an arrest warrant affidavit, Officer Bias was taking Thompson back to his cell when the inmate followed the officer to the second floor, punched Officer Bias in the head, choked him, and continued striking him. Afterwards, the inmate sat down at a table on the first floor. An additional officer arrived and put handcuffs on Thompson. Officer Bias died at the hospital.
It was a heinous, horrific, purposeful murder that was senseless and not needed.
The sheriff's office says it won't go into more detail because Texas Rangers are investigating. The sheriff says right now he's focused on Isaiah's family and brothers and sisters in blue.
Everybody here that worked with him in the jail loved him. He was one of the kind of guys that if you needed help, he'd come help you. Outstanding person. In
Ellis County, Sophia Beausoleil, NBC5.
And the suspect is charged with capital murder. His bond was set at $2 million.
Got a few pictures want to share with you. The growing memorial tonight. This is at the Ellis County Sheriff's Office. This is how things began, and it continued to grow through the afternoon today. Denton officer Isaiah Bias, of course, murdered by an inmate on Monday this week. Tonight, our Aaron Jones meeting with community members who stopped by specifically to pay their respects, while also learning a little bit more about the accused.
At the Ellis County Sheriff's Office, most stopping by this memorial on Wednesday didn't know Isaiah Bias, but they felt they needed to be here.
Born and raised here in the community, local, thoughts and prayers with everyone involved in the situation.
Ryan Blevins and his wife Rachel came to show their respects.
We thank guys and girls like him every day to keep our community safe, and he was just here another day to come to work, and unfortunately on circumstances that happened, it wasn't good.
The 28-year-old detention officer had wanted to work in law enforcement since he was in grade school, even joining the Sheriff's Explorer program. Sheriff Brad Norman says while on duty Monday, Bias was murdered by an inmate, Aaron Thompson. The 45-year-old has extensive criminal history and was in jail for assaulting a peace officer and evading arrest. According to arrest documents, he was on his 1 hour of recreational time outside his cell, and Officer Bias was going to put him back into his cell. The documents say Thompson then physically assaulted Bias, striking him in the head, choking him, then striking him again multiple times.
And I feel terrible. I hate that.
Tabitha Pennon, Thompson's cousin, does not condone what happened. She says she started noticing her cousin had mental health issues after he was released from prison. She says in prison, he spent 5 years in solitary confinement.
Staff in the prisons and in a jail.
Tonight, the Texas Rangers are continuing to investigate what happened here. Thompson has been charged with capital murder. His bond is set at $2 million. In Ellis County, Aaron Jones, CBS News.
Let it be said, when we finish this race, we kept them free, we led with grace. Let it be seen, from sea to shining sea, beautiful America, living our legacy. Oh, father, mother, sister, brother, oh, we gotta learn to love each other. Oh, for the soul of the nation, for the next generation. Let us be known as people of honor, humble and bold, faithful through fire. Let us hold firm to our convictions with wide open hearts, eager to listen. Oh, and our time has come. We gave them hope, we made them strong. Let it be said, when we finish this race, we kept them free, yeah, we led with grace. Oh, father, mother, sister, brother, oh, we gotta learn to love each other. Oh, for the soul of the nation, for all the next generation. Let it be said. Oh, father, mother, sister, brother, oh, we gotta learn to love each other. Oh, for the soul of the nation, for all the next generation.
All right, and we are back. You're here watching Southern Sense live on X, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Rumble, Substack, and everywhere else. I hope you're sitting back and enjoying it. Our chat room is open. If you want to make some comments, we'll see them pop up over here, and hopefully we'll respond. And there goes my camera again. Oh, good Lord. It makes me
Out
look.
goes the weasel.
Yeah. Every time I move my cursor across the screen, it pops me out. Anyway, we got ourselves a great show going on. Anne Vandersteel and Maureen Steele. No, they're not related. They are the co-founders of American Made Foundation, a great organization. And I'm actually going to try to see if I can get them to one of my Tea Party meetings. I'm going to ask them all on here.
Are they
They're
local?
actually located local to you. They're down in Florida.
Oh, okay.
So then probably not too far from you. So you can probably get up to some of your meetings and stuff. Yeah. So, hey, maybe we're making some connections here. Well, they're joining us in the second half of the show. The first half, we have Ken Good. And as I said, he's a board officer for the Professional Bondsmen of Texas, as well as a bail attorney with his own law firm. And, there's some things that have been coming up today, and it'd be interesting to get some of his comments on them that came, of course, in the news, dealing with the recent Supreme Court ruling and a recent instance of a bail not being given or insufficient in certain cases. In one case for a homicide, and the bail was set so low that the guy just walked, basically. And the father is distraught because his daughter was killed. I mean, we're going to go into all of this. We're also going to talk about James Comey. Oh, that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to put up a little. Let me see. Where did I put that? There it is. So the audience can get a look at that. It's going to go over our faces, but that's okay. This is Trump with Comey. Here, Comey posted up on the social network. I don't know if it was Facebook or X, 8647. And people always say, what the heck does 8647 mean? Well, James Comey, not only being the head of the FBI, he was also the attorney general that prosecuted the mob in the state of New York. And anyone that works in a restaurant knows what 86 means. 86 means you're going to can the order. Whatever it is, just dump it. But when you say it in mob terms, they take it to mean even further than that. If they say, hey, listen, we got to 86 this guy, they just put a hit out on the guy. So here's a man who understands what that term means and yet used it against the 47th president of the United States. Now, this 8647 appeared a couple of weeks back. And on another show I do called Moms Across America, we discussed this. And if you work in the restaurant industry, as I said, one of the first things if someone decided to change their order, or they decided they didn't want to eat here because something upset them, and they walk out, you go in the kitchen and you tell the chef or the staff, 86 table 47 or 86 this order. Everyone in the restaurant industry knows what 86 means. Can it, dump it, get rid of it. So he's basically calling for a hit on the president of the United States.
Yeah, I heard that Secret Service and FBI are investigating this guy. And one of the things they look at is his relationship to the person he's made a threat to, even though it may seem veiled at the time, this threat. But we all know that this guy was fired by Trump. There's no love lost between him and Trump. So, some weirdo out there, some mental type may just take that as a signal to go ahead and take out Trump.
Well, it's not just the Secret Service now, because Kash Patel said he is going to have an investigation. Kristi Noem, Department of Homeland Security, said she's going to be investigating that. And the post was actually that Comey put up was actually on Instagram, but it has since been removed.
Oh yeah. Like
I'm wondering whether or not
Secret Service and FBI, which is.
I'm just wondering if James Comey got into Nancy Pelosi's vodka. You had to be drunk to do something stupid like this. And I'm going to put the picture up again so the people that are watching can understand what I'm talking about. He took sand pebbles in the sand and wrote 8647. And if you go onto social networks, I found it up on X. I saw it up on a couple other social networks, 8647. But shortly after they went up, they were pulled because they realized, hey, you're going to get in trouble. You may think it's funny. You may think it's cute. You may think you're doing the hip thing that everyone else is doing, but you actually made a threat against the president of the United States.
Well, he's a narcissist for one thing.
But that is a criminal offense.
So he probably didn't think nothing would come of it.
Or just thought, hey, well, I'm the former FBI director, so I can get away with whatever I want to get away with. And no one's going to bother me about it. I'm just too big for anyone to bother me about. But excuse me, they scream when they're prosecuting Trump, no one's above the law. And yet when the law turns around and says, you just broke the law, we're taking a look at this, we're investigating you, all of a sudden, oh, no, now you got lawfare on me. Gee, doesn't that sound like Tish James?
Well, it's like these judges that are, finding themselves under the scrutiny of the prosecutors and things and being arrested. You got people supporting these judges that saying like, hey, this is breaking precedents. We shouldn't march these people, perk walk them and all this. But they went after Donald Trump. Had his mugshot. They had no problem with that.
The law for thee, but not for me. That's what it is. Basically, they're telling you you're not above the law, and yet they expect themselves to be treated above the law. Now, with Letitia James, the Attorney General for the state of New York, as we discussed on prior shows, she went and she bought a condo complex in New York. And in order to get a good mortgage rate and not be noted as a commercial property that will be rented out, but as personal, it had to be 4 units or less. Well, hers was 5. So she lied on the mortgage documents, claiming it was a 4-unit complex in order to get a favorable mortgage rate. That's a felony. That's a felony. She further then went to buy property and has bought property in the state of Virginia. Now, in order to get the rate she wanted in the state of Virginia, she claimed she was married, and put her alleged husband's name on the mortgage document. Well, the person's name she put down on that mortgage document, verifying that they are married, was her father. So did she not? Oh, well, it goes further than that. On that document, also to get a favorable mortgage rate, she said this was going to be her primary residence in the state of Virginia. She is the duly elected Attorney General for the state of New York, and a requirement for that position by law states you must be a resident of New York. But yet she states she's a resident of Virginia in order to purchase this property. So she's got multiple incidents of violating the mortgage law, committing perjury on official documents.
True.
Right?
She's out there
And she
saying,
is
though,
now-
that this was a witch hunt.
Yeah, it is a witch hunt. She's out there and using the taxpayer money to defend herself. So the people of the state of New York that elected her had acts of criminal intent against the state of New York and violating the laws of the state of New York she has sworn to uphold, committed against the citizens of New York, and the citizens of New York are now forced to pay for her defense.
Oh, you forgot one thing. You forgot one thing.
Oh, I did. Oh, did I? Oh my God. Okay, what did I forget?
That she, what she's being accused of, what she's being accused of is what she accused Trump of doing.
Yeah.
The irony.
Yeah. In order to get, what was it? She was saying that he undervalued his building or some sort of like that. The man does not do
tax breaks. Yeah.
The man does not sit down there and looking at the books. He's got accountants for that. He's got CPAs. He's got bookkeepers that do all this. They do the entries. All he does is he tells them, oh, all right, so these attorneys or these individuals need these XYZ documents. They pull them out, they put them together, and they send them on. He doesn't touch them. And
well,
yet
not only that,
it.
There was no harm done. Nobody complained but her.
No one was injured. No one was injured. And yet here we have Letitia James purchasing property in the state of Virginia, stating she is a citizen, a resident of the state of Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
That harms the voters in the state of New York because they elected someone to be their attorney general that was a resident of the state of New York. She committed fraud against the citizens of the state of New York.
Well, I like to see how she gets out of this one.
Yeah, it will be some sort of gymnastics, I would assume, that in order for her to get out of this. So we'll have a lot to talk about with our guests. We should have the first one calling in a few moments. Trying to see whether or not they gave me a phone number for the gentleman. And I hear a ding, and out there he is. Want to welcome onto the show the one, the only, Ken Good. Good afternoon, Ken. I got to apologize. My camera keeps on changing, zooming me in and out, not behaving quite well. There we go. Now I'm back. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Hello, Ken.
We were just having a rant on Letitia James.
I think that would be a pretty easy rant.
Having been a former resident of the state of New York, I was trying to show how Donald Trump and the charges he had against him, there was no one harmed in that one. In the case of Letitia James, the people that were harmed were the citizens of the state of New York. When she signed the mortgage documents in Virginia, stating she was going to be a primary resident in Virginia, she was elected by the citizens of New York to be the attorney general, and the requirement was she also had to be a resident of the state of New York. By saying to the citizens of New York, well, I'm going to still remain your attorney general, but I'm going to live in Virginia, she committed direct harm against the citizens of New York.
Well, she also may have lied because she probably does live in New York. But I mean, so that would be fraud on your application. But I mean, you just kind of like good for the goose, good for the gander. I mean, when you're saying Trump, she prosecuted Trump, but now it's like all the arguments are reversed, and now she's kind of making all the arguments Trump made, and it's fun just for that one reason.
Well, I do hope they do find her guilty of all charges. Just watching her, and the thing is, what really gets my blood boiling is that She committed this fraud against the citizens of New York, and yet the citizens of New York are tasked with paying for her defense. So they're not only harmed once, but they're harmed twice.
I agree with that. I want them to go through the full legal process and have her to go through a trial so she can experience everything that Trump experienced. And I'm hopeful that, justice is done. And if the allegations are proven, then I hope that a jury agrees with that and finds what the law requires.
I want to see her mugshot. I really do. That's what I want. Plaster that on the T-shirts.
Well, if they arrest her, that shouldn't be that long away. I mean, that should be the first thing, just like for Trump. I mean, if they file charges, that'll be the first thing they do. Won't that be fun?
One of the things that Americans are tired of is no one gets perp walked these days. They commit crimes and they just disappear. You don't hear from them no more. They don't go to jail. They don't go to trial unless you're conservative.
Yeah, I agree with that. We've kind of reached a point in our criminal justice system where it's really your political opponents that are the ones that get the full treatment of the law. And that has to stop. I mean, we just can't. I mean, the criminal justice always has politics in it, but not to this level, I don't believe. And the level we have it right now is awful.
No, I've not to this level. Never have I seen this. I don't know if you were aware, but I'm retired out of NYPD, and I left in the 90s. And back then, in the 80s and 90s, we had what we called revolving door justice. But it's never been to the level that I see it today. I do remember at one point I had arrested 2 individuals. I got back to the precinct, and on the way home, there was a place we used to hang out at the border, just going over the border, that we stop and have a couple of cocktails or whatever. And I was in civvies, and I walk in, I sit down, and I look up at the end of the bar, and there are the 2 individuals I had arrested just hours before, already sitting there. But they got there before I even got out of my uniform, I found out. And that was happening in the 80s and 90s. But it has gotten to the point where there is a father that has gotten so upset. 24-year-old Caitlin Weaver was T-boned and killed in Aurora, Colorado by, oh my God, an illegal immigrant.
Well, the problem we've got that what you're saying is happening in the early 90s is just so bad right now. I mean, I've made the argument, if we're just going to arrest and do this revolving door on misdemeanors, why are we even prosecuting misdemeanors anymore? I mean, we're dismissing almost everything. We're tying the hands of the judges. They can't hold anybody accountable. So why are we even prosecuting misdemeanor crime anymore? It's ridiculous. It has no deterrent effect whatsoever.
Yeah, well, they end up giving the illegal immigrant a probation parole. He was racing. He was high on drugs and alcohol. She was waiting at a stop sign, and he killed this young girl. And he gets probation parole. And we're seeing time and time again these cities that are actually sanctuary cities for criminals coming up. You've got Denver, you've got San Francisco, New York. It's crazy.
Well, and one of the arguments I heard recently that I thought was very powerful was the reason why these sanctuary cities have these policies to bring in illegal immigrants is for the census. So because we count everybody that lives there in the census, and then your representation in Congress is decided based upon that. So we're giving people, like the article is making the point that the Democrats would have 10 fewer seats than they have now if they didn't count illegal aliens. And so that gives them an incentive to encourage those elements to come into their community at the time of the census, and they'll get a heavier, their weight or their votes have a heavier weight as a result. And we've got to take away that incentive.
That's why we have open borders to let all these people in.
Well, I think that was the best explanation for why. But what I don't understand is, why have we just ignored the criminal elements? I mean, there's an article from Colorado yesterday saying that a city had so many deportations and their murder rate went down 60%.
True. I mean, that's what you're finding.
1 + 1 = 2 there.
Yes. I mean, it was where the census had a question on there. Are you an American citizen?
Mm-hmm.
You had to prove that you were an American citizen. You have to have ID and proof when you go into a courtroom, in a federal courtroom. You need now the real ID anywhere within the United States, but it doesn't tell you whether or not you're a citizen or not. Some states are starting to put that there on the license. Matter of fact, my state is now doing that, South Carolina. But it used to be where you had to prove that you were a legal resident. Well, that's no longer. We're trying to put it back on the census, but we're getting such a pushback from the left because they know it's going to harm them because they're not going to be able to count the illegals.
Well, I think one of the things that has really driven the left crazy over the last couple of weeks is this brilliant idea that the Trump administration had for allowing people to self-deport and they'll pay them $1,000. I mean, that is driving the left crazy. It's expensive, but it's a lot cheaper than doing the deportation ourselves. But it also will increase dramatically the numbers of people that will be self-removed. And that's because of the impact that will have on the census and the representation numbers. It's driving the left crazy.
And it is. And I think when the census does come around, we're going to see some states like California and others losing numbers because for the $1,000 you give them, and there's some other thing attached to that also to that. So it was a little bit extra than that. But it costs between $50,000 to $70,000 for a deportation, depending upon the circumstance. So you pay $1,000 and a couple dollars more, or you pay $50 to $70.
Plus their cost to their airline flight and $1,000. I mean, think of all the social benefits that we're saving, and also how much that money goes a long way in probably where they live. I mean, it's a brilliant idea, and that's probably why the left hates it so much.
Yeah, because they're thinking, oh, the illegals, they're going to do, they get housing paid for, they get food stamps, they get medical care on Medicaid. These all are services that they absorb from the taxpayers. So what the taxpayer benefits, they're going to find their budgets in their local municipalities all of a sudden maybe have a surplus because we're getting rid of the illegal alien element.
Look in April, we had over a $400 billion surplus for the month. I mean, the federal government had a $400 billion surplus for the month of April. I mean, I've started making the argument, when the Democrats say that Trump is a threat to democracy, is that really what they're saying? Or are they really saying he's a threat to the Democrats? Because that looks like all of the policies he's enacting, the ones they're objecting to, hurt them, not the country.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the catch and release, though, that is what really drives me crazy. And the case of this young girl here in Aurora, California, that's something that you're working on. And you're doing that. Let me make sure I get this correctly. Okay, good Lord. I had the whole thing in front of me before I was reading it. Of course, my papers are all shuffled over. Here we go. The Professional Bondsmen of Texas.
Yes.
I'm sorry. And you've been working on doing bond reform. What's going on?
Well, in Texas, we're in the middle of a legislative session, and Texas is kind of bucking this bad bail reform that's been enacted across the country, and it's strengthening accountability, strengthening, the criminal justice system. So I think Texas is shining a light for other states. But we've been through this last 5 years where we've just tied the hands of judges and said, if they're charged with these crimes, you have to release them. Either, in New York, it'd be a no bond, on California, it'd be zero bail. And these simple release mechanisms are awful. People have high failure to appear rates in California. They use that for all misdemeanors. They have an 80% failure to appear rate across the state. Working in the criminal justice system, if they don't show up for court, their case gets put on hold. We got to wait for them to come back. And you couple that in California with a timeline on how soon, the Speedy Trial Act, if they can run away and be gone long enough, their case will be dismissed because of the Speedy Trial Act. It's just gaming the system to, a level we've never seen before.
Well, I also look at it this way. You are rewarding bad behavior. Yeah. You're turning around and saying, yeah, shame on you. You did X, Y, Z, but we're not going to give you bail. We're going to expect you to show up in court. They're turning around. They're giving us the middle finger. They're laughing behind our back and saying, I'm going to go and do whatever I damn well feel like. We had.
Well, and they see that. You say, I mean, it's the green light to commit more crime is the way they see it.
Exactly. We have recently a gentleman, I should not even use that term with this individual, that had been arrested for a homicide. He had been arrested prior for another homicide. He was out on the street. He does finally get arrested on the second homicide. And the cop that is arresting him and booking him, he's saying, I'm going to come back and I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. And he said that multiple times to a police officer. Well, thankfully, because I live in the area I have, and I have the DA that we have and the sheriff we have, they said, okay, you made threats against a police officer. We're adding a couple extra federal charges to you. You're not going anywhere. But this is what the country needs to wake up and see this.
But isn't it sad when our local state officials won't do their job? So we have to rely upon the federal government to come in and file federal charges to do the job that the state or county officials refuse to do. That's really sad.
Annie, wasn't it New York where a mob beat up the cops and the cops were afraid to do anything because they didn't want to go to jail or be accused of police brutality?
Yeah, it was two NYPD officers that were beaten by illegal aliens. Yeah.
You know, I think we're coming out of that period. I think one of the great things from Trump's election is we've ended this period where we can't talk about things. I mean, I did a podcast talking before the election, talking about how, you know, in California, the legal marijuana business was going bankrupt and it was being taken over by the cartels. And I couldn't even post a story on Facebook about it. I mean, they just immediately deleted it. And I thought, well, maybe I've been conned. Maybe this isn't a real story. And then you started hearing Trump talk about it during the election. And then since he won, all of those guardrails suppressing the news have seemed to go away. And suddenly I was able to post a story about it, do a podcast about it, and there wasn't any suppression. I mean, I think one of the reasons why we're having such a bad backlash right now is because we've had such suppression of this news. And so the backlash that we would have had a year or 2 years ago is just now coming out, and it's going to be a lot worse because they were hiding the truth.
Yeah, I actually agree, because I had been, they called ghosted on X and a couple of other places. And people that would follow me say, we can't find you. Your posts are being hidden. I had been taken off of Facebook and YouTube multiple times. And so the heck with them, at this point. But I still do post to them, but people don't really see them because they're still shadow banning you. And I think now we're starting, as we take over the media, and we become the news outlets that everyone else is starting to turn to. They're turning off CNN, MSNBC, and everything else, and they're turning to alternative avenues like this show. And I've been doing this for 15 years. And finally people are saying, hey, yeah. And you have been doing a fantastic job also getting the word out, because you've written a bunch of different post on the blog spot on PBTX, I'll get the name of your organization right.
Yes, we have a blog on pbtx.com where we post important stories on the criminal justice world. And I've written numerous articles published in many different publications about criminal justice reform, what's good, what's bad, what works, what doesn't.
Because you have one, The Untold Story, Selling Out Public Safety, one district attorney at a time. And I do remember at times that you would go in and you'd put up your arrest sheet, or we called it the criminal complaint, and you'd list all the crimes that you were booking the individual for. And by the time you get to the ADA over there, they're saying, and also you saw the red pen come out, course off this one, and you may have 7 or 8 different charges, and we're lucky if we see 2 left.
Well, we've had this period where Soros has been picking off our DAs one at a time, and he's gotten so well organized. I mean, he has a group that they go out and recruit soft on crime DAs, and they give them a bunch of money. They run them in Democrat strongholds where all they got to do is beat the Democrat in the primary and they have a lot more money than them. Then they have another group that invites them to seminars that says, okay, quid pro quo, here's your soft on crime policies that you're going to adopt. And then they have another group, which is pseudoscience group, that does reports saying adopting these policies will not increase crime. And then they have this last group that does press releases for them, tells them how to sell these policies to the public. And they've been disastrous. They've increased crime. They've done exactly what you and I would know, what we would know they would have an impact on crime. And that's one of the reasons why, he had a large number of DAs that had his support that were defeated because, these are activists making arguments. They're not going to admit when they're wrong. A true politician who wants to prove things, when something doesn't work for 2 or 3 or 4 years, they're going to say, okay, that didn't work. Let's try something else. These groups don't do that. And the problem we have is I think the Democrats have outsourced their criminal justice policy to these advocacy groups. And these advocacy groups are not going to admit they're wrong. And so they won't give up.
No, it's a multi-billion-dollar business. That's what it is. As long as the money is coming in, they're going to have this mill that they put this pablum out there. That they're poor, they're underdeserved. No one understands them. Oh, they're this racial thing and that thing is keeping them down. You evil white people, type of thing. And how dare you? You don't understand them, and you give
really
them this
what their
soft
policies
sell.
are. Their policies are we have to put up with more crime because we know how to fight crime. We know how to increase public safety. And everything they're doing is doing the opposite. And really what they're saying is we should put up with more crime. And if they said that and put it up for a vote, it would fail. So they have to lie and they have to misrepresent. And then they have to have these pseudoscience reports to support them. But in the end, it's still the same. They want us to accept more crime. And we're not going to do it. What that will force is vigilante justice. And we've seen that in some areas in the country.
Ken,
Yes,
because of the lack of leadership on the left, I think the strategy is just to try to outweight Trump these 4 years with hopes that they will get back in power, starting with the midterms in next year. What's your thoughts on that?
I've read an article from someone, a blog I go to that I respect. And, I agree with you. There's very little news that I do. So I go to the same places for news where I respect them. And one of those has already come out and said there's no way that the Republicans keep the House. And I think that we don't know the answer to that yet. I do think that that's exactly what the Democrats want. And if they get it, they may freaking impeach Trump one more time. But I think the Democrats and maybe even this commentator have misjudged Trump. He has come back so prepared for this term. He is so ready. And can you imagine the number? He's going to roll out every week a new trade deal when he starts rolling them out. And that's going to happen all the way to the midterm elections. And so
And probably beyond.
And beyond. But I'm telling you, I think that, and that's what's scaring the Democrats right now, because he's going to get on a roll. And because what he's doing is good for the country, and he's guided by what he thinks is best for the country, not what's best for his family's bank account. And so I think you're going to see him get on a roll, and it may be, I'm hopeful that the normal trend we see is not what we're going to experience with Trump.
Because he's right now in the Middle East, and every single day, not just one or two, but he's rolling out one after another of these new deals, and trillions of dollars are now rolling back into the United States, and stuff that will be based here in the United States, not in a foreign country.
Well, even the Democrats' media sources are giving him credit, and he's even commented at a press conference saying, "Well, even the Democrats or the media's, that don't like me are saying nice things about what we're doing on this trip." So I think, Trump has come out with gangbusters. He came out with a plan. And I will tell you this, if Trump had won re-election 4 years ago, he would have had a Democrat House, maybe even a Democrat Senate, probably would have been impeached another time. he would have not gotten anything done. He would have been a mediocre president. But they pissed him off. And Trump planned for 4 years for this. And he's come in loaded for bear. And I think the best argument I've seen on Trump is Trump in his first term tried to play the part of a politician, and he wasn't a politician. But Trump for his second term is...
Just lost Ken. We just lost Ken.
Trump is a patriot.
It's funny because I was up at my state GOP convention just recently, and I ran into, he used to be my congressman until they redistricted, Joe Wilson, and he was really optimistic. We got Ken back. Let's bring him back on so he can finish. Here we go.
I apologize. But what the comment was that Trump's first term, he was playing the part of a politician. But for his second term, he's taking over a bankrupt company, which he knows how to do very well.
Yeah, I think he took all that time and planned this out. Mm-hmm. He was looking so far, he's looking at what happened to him and how it happened, and then saying, I'm not going to let this happen again. And I think he's doing the right thing, but he's coming in like gangbusters, and no one knows what to expect next. And I think that's the fun part.
Like
that's
a chess master.
Part is.
He's a chess master.
Yes, and I think that we've also, maybe I'm too optimistic, but I think he's a lot smarter than we even thought he was. And like you said, chess master, absolutely.
Bobby Fischer all the way.
Absolutely, I agree with that. And I think we're going to be giving, someone said this after the election, we're going to be watching movies about Trump and his first term and his second term and his reelection for the rest of our lives. And I agree with that. I don't know any other Republican alive today who could have survived what he survived and got reelected. I don't know anybody.
Well, before we let you go, just for the last few minutes of your interview with us, you wrote an article that I found very, very interesting, and it kind of like ties into a recent Supreme Court ruling that came out. You wrote about a federal kidnapping case, U.S. v. Lozer, where he was a licensed recovery agent, and he crossed over state lines, got the person they were after, brought them back, and then he was charged with federal kidnapping. What do you see happening for guys like this?
Well, I think it's a warning call, and it's when politics overtakes even recovery. So, here's a guy who had a valid warrant, crossed state lines, and got the person and was taking them back to his home state, to the court where they missed court. And, because of the politics in place at the time, the federal government filed federal kidnapping charges. I think that case turned on the fact that he was not a licensed recovery agent in the other state. And so I think that's a warning for recovery agents. But that state did not. It declined to prosecute him. So I think that should be left with the state. And we shouldn't be, I don't think he should be held to be taking somebody unlawful across state lines when he has a valid warrant for their arrest. And so I think that is an example of how politics has taken over the criminal justice system in such a negative way. When suddenly we're putting the rights of the criminal defendant over everything else.
Well, what the Supreme Court just came up with, this was an instance of a traffic stop. There was an exchange going on, trying to get the guy to give him license, ask the guy to step out of the car. Mm-hmm. And instead of stepping out of the car while the officer was attached to the car, took off. And the officer fired his weapon and the defendant died. And the original case found in favor of the law enforcement officer defending himself in the line of duty. The Supreme Court said, no, wait a minute. You got to look at all the steps that happened prior to that to make him justify why he did what he did. And I think that's going to end up backfiring on a lot of law enforcement officers.
Yeah, I've looked at this. I've argued this issue before from the perspective of qualified immunity. We have this big push to get rid of qualified immunity for law enforcement. And I'm like, the reason why they're pushing that is once you get rid of qualified immunity, you will not have anyone who will be a police officer, because then anytime somebody wants to second guess them, or they just have money, or some advocacy group will come in and fund an attorney to make your life miserable over any decision you make that could have gone either way, and nobody will work for cities. It's another way to create chaos, and I think a lot of these policies, that's what their goal is, to create chaos.
Well, that kind of like reminds me, I think it was Portland, Oregon, that was trying to recruit illegal aliens to become law enforcement officers. Was it Portland?
I don't remember, but I do remember the story. But that's ridiculous. That just blurs the line of what a citizen is. And that's the reason why they bring these people in and they increase their numbers in Congress. But then their ultimate goal is, the Democrats are having difficulty winning elections, and they've been winning by making their electorate mad, so they come out in larger numbers to vote. But we've done that so many that now they can't just make them mad anymore. And so I think you're seeing that, let's bring in some more people that maybe potentially one day can be additional voters for us. And I think that's one of the other arguments we hear. I think when you look at immigration, you look at what's going on there. I mean, we couldn't enforce immigration. We couldn't secure our borders without a new law. Suddenly we got a new president and we have secure borders within 120 days. And then I think the same thing on criminal justice reform. We know how to fight crime. We're actually not fighting crime right now. We're creating more crime. And if we would just recognize that and empower law enforcement, we would see crime go down dramatically, because we know what to do. It's just that our politicians are preventing that right at the moment.
It goes to the old thing that I learned, that, if you see someone committing something on your beat, whether it's an open container or some small infraction, you go after that. Yeah. Because the guy down the street who's looking to see whether or not he can set up shop on the corner is looking to see if you're paying attention and are you going to do something about it. So they make say it's like, I don't know, community policing crime or whatever. They give it all different names. But if you let the small little thing go, the guy behind coming in is going to say, well, if they're going to let that go, let me test them and see whether or not they're going to pay attention. And it snowballs and it snowballs.
Absolutely. And the way I describe it is, you've got a city within a city. You've got a city of criminals who are committing a large percentage of all the crime in an urban area. But then on the gray area between the two cities, you've got a whole bunch of people that are watching. And they're watching, are they going to live in the crime city, or are they going to live in the law and order city? And they're making their decision based on what's happening to the criminals. And when the criminals are held accountable, they're like, ooh, we're going to follow the law. And when criminals are not held accountable, well, they're going to join the crime city because there's no accountability. And in a lot of our urban areas right now, crime is increasing because the people in the gray areas are going, there's no accountability. Nothing will happen to me.
Well, before I let you go, I just want one last thing. Your thoughts on how Texas has said no to that 492-acre caliphate.
Oh, I know. I mean, I just saw an article where they were talking about, they were doing all these reports and they were doing all these investigations of that. I'm not opposed to an area being developed based on commonness in the people that live there. I think what we're seeing, though, is we're seeing that this is not with good intent, and it's intended to do. I think the investigations are appropriate, and I think that they're finding out a lot of bad stuff, and that's the reason why it got stopped.
Yeah, because as I was reading the articles about it, as I understood it, they were going to impose Sharia law within that community, 492 acres of Sharia law. Oh, you're not a Muslim, but you can come here and live with us. But if you're living under Sharia law, means that if you're living in their community, you must pay the jizya to them. So in other words, you're not only paying your state, local, and federal taxes, you're paying a tax to the caliphate. And so it was not and how dare you go out without a head dress, a burqa, or a
and why would they come to Texas to do that? I mean, they can do that in California easily. Why do they think they can get away with it in Texas?
I think it was a test, honestly.
I think they were going to. That's probably a good point. That's probably a
I
good
think it was
point.
honestly a test to see what the reaction would be of the American people.
Well, one of the next scandal we need to tackle is homelessness, and not the fact that people are homeless, but all this money that's being thrown at it in California, and that is not addressing the issue because of all of the fraud, all the corruption that's there. And so, I mean, again, there's so many similarities between crime, immigration, and now homelessness. And I think the common element there is, all these kickbacks. I mean, I've said before on the issue of crime, what would our politicians be doing that they're not doing now in our urban cities if they were getting kickbacks to allow crime to increase? So in our urban areas, when they're doing soft on crime policies where they're dismissing cases, what would they be doing differently if they were being paid off? I would argue nothing.
Well, Ken, it has been a pleasure having you with you. Where can people find you?
People can find our organization at pbtx.com, the Professional Bondsmen of Texas, and we have a blog where we post important criminal justice stories, but we also have our own podcast. There's a link to it on our menu, but you can also go to the Bail Post. Bail is in BAIL, thebailpost.com. All we do is talk about criminal justice issues. We want to educate legislators and the public on what works and what doesn't work.
Well, God bless you, Ken. We welcome you back anytime.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Y'all have a nice
Take care.
All right, take care. Bye. All right, check him out, Ken Good. And we have coming back, the one, the only, the most vivacious Maureen Steele. We were looking for Ann also. I don't know if she's joining you.
She is not. Yep, they were supposed to notify you. I'm sorry, Ann.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. So how are you doing today?
I'm good.
All right, you're the co-founder of the American Made Foundation that people can find at americanmadefoundation.org. It's a great group, and you touch on just about anything and everything. And I would say I still run a tea party, but you're like the tea party on steroids.
That's a compliment. Yeah, we're doing a lot of work right now. We had our press conference in DC at the DOJ, in front of the DOJ, in front of the big doors there on May 6th. And Ann and I, we walked the halls of the Congress and the Senate the day before, delivering, notices of the press conference. So that was an interesting trip, and I got to tell you, I had never been to DC before. On the convoy, I'd gone around the Beltway, but I'd never been into DC proper. So that was my first time walking the halls of the Congress and the Senate, and it was unnerving, I have to tell you.
No, I've been there. I've actually went. It was fairusa.org. We were going there lobbying for the immigration bill, HR 2. So we were knocking on doors, sitting down with senators and representatives, going through the tunnels and meeting them, and anyone we could ambush, to help push through HR 2, which we did. We did. I was supposed to go back recently, but because I got a bad back, I had to say, well, I can do what I can from my chair here, but I can't do the walking anymore. But it's fun, and you never know who you're going to run into.
Yeah, well, I found it, it really showed you what we're up against. And it's not just the selected officials, it's their staffers who really are running everything. And so they're syrupy sweet, or they have a vacant stare, and you can have, you see so many people just gathering in little circles in the halls. And, walking by, we actually heard people say, we're in power. If people have a problem with it, they can try to get in power. They're public servants. They have it completely backwards. You have no power. The power belongs to the people. Read the Constitution. But that's what they think. So it's very clear where they're at in DC.
So this is where we actually know where the swamp is,
Oh, yeah. And like I said, it's not just the Congress and the Senate. It's, thousands of staffers that are, in there doing, doing everything for the committees. It's their agenda. And, it's almost, from what I witnessed, it's almost as though, the selected officials are just the front men for all the staffers that are pushing through their own agendas. They were smug. They were smug. They were elitist. All of them, both sides. The cocky attitudes. It was just unbelievable. And it went all the way. After the press conference, we went over to the Capitol Grill for a dinner. And the Secret Service comes in. There's this huge group of people. And again, it was the smugness. You're watching all these men in these skinny suits. None of them could change a tire on a car. None of them could punch their way out of a wet paper bag, and they're just there, writing all our laws, and you better follow them or else. It was really an experience.
Yeah, well, we were down in the downstairs of the Capitol Grill the first time, and upstairs the second time, and yet you watch who's walking through there. But just imagine how bad it's going to get now that they want them to be unionized. They want the staffers to be unionized. They're pushing for that. That is scary now. That is very, very scary.
Yeah.
I mean, when the congressman or senator leaves, the staffers are supposed to leave with them. But some of them do stay in place because they know how to run the office.
Right.
So, if they do unionize, oh my God.
Yeah, that just can't happen. That needs to be just cleaned out. It's, you just need to go in there and clean the whole thing out. It's so corrupt, and you can smell it when you're in there. It's unbelievable.
Well, go ahead, Curtis.
Well, I was going to say, Maureen, with the efforts that Trump is putting forth, do you think this will change quickly, or it's going to take a while to get rid of the deep state?
Oh, I think it's going to take a long time, and I think it's going to take all of us. There's no way Trump can clean this up alone. I mean, like I said, just being there. I mean, there's thousands of people that are wildly corrupt there and elitist, and they think they're in power. You're a public servant. Just to have that attitude, you got to go. You don't belong here. You got to go. So I think we need to clean house.
Yeah, the unelected bureaucracy.
Yeah, exactly. And and it's so cushy for them. I mean, Curtis, they're there. They're making $180,000 a year in DC. DC is very expensive. The rent is expensive. You're barely making ends meet on 180 in DC. Yet all of these people, in 4 years they got $20 million in the bank. How is that happening? We're the only country in the world that legalizes bribery. We call it lobbying. And it's disgusting. Everyone there is on the take, and it really doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. And they don't want the swamp to drain because they're making millions off of it. And they're in power.
When Trump came in on his second term, everyone was screaming that, he has to stand away from his business. He can't have anything to do with his business. He does that. Every time he comes in, he says, I'm handing it over to so-and-so. My hands are off. But when you have people that are coming into the Senate and Congress, there should be signing a document saying, I'm not going to know anything about my investments. I'm not touching anything, whatever. I'm handing it over to my broker or to this person. And you step away and you just become an elected official, a legislator or a senator. Mm-hmm. But we're not seeing that happen. And we saw that in many times. I just had his face in front of my mind, and now I can't think of it. He's not in there anymore. But as you said, he came in and a modest amount of money in their bank, and next thing you know, they're multimillionaires. And oh, by the way, right through the district on property he owns is coming this highway or this development. And gee, how did he manage to make money off of that? Because they know ahead of time.
Oh yeah, so it's a club, and I mean it's so much bigger than we even realize. With all the NGOs. I mean, Doge has uncovered so much of it. You can see the money laundering, the racketeering. Money's going out to Europe. It's coming back. It's going to the selected officials. It's they're running it through NGOs. They're running stuff through Catholic charities and all of this. And you never hear this. And but it's all run through Maximus. So you guys can Google that, and anyone listening really should. Maximus is the shadow government. It really is, and you never hear it because they don't
spell that.
Maximus, and it's a traded company. It's a corporation. It's traded on NASDAQ under MMS, and there's articles written on it that Homeland Security gives Maximus a $439 billion contract for the next 5 years for efficiency. Medicare, Medicaid, being run through Maximus for efficiency. What DOJ just uncovered was we had billions of dollars going overseas to Europe for Medicaid and Medicare payments to who knows who. We can't even track it. And we're paying billions for Maximus to do this. So where's the efficiency? And if they have all of the most of our major agencies use Maximus. So they have all the databases, and so they have all of our information, the DMV, the IRS, HHS, the Department of Energy. I mean, that is the highest clearance, security clearance runs through the Department of Energy. And we have this one company that has the keys to the kingdom. And they're used from the federal level all the way down to county level in many states. So this is really, you want to talk deep state, Curtis, that's all. And they have Great Britain, uses them. Some Canadian, Canada uses them for certain departments. So this is where all the money laundering is happening, and they're making millions of dollars for efficiency. We all know how wildly inefficient we are. So on top of all the money that's being wasted, we're wasting more in billions of dollars of contracts for this other corporation to just exploit our money even further. But it's interesting because you have, DOJ going through all the books for efficiency. Why isn't anyone mentioning Maximus? That's where the databases are kept. So you have to access, that's all their software. When you go in to apply for food stamps, say, that is Maximus's software. Everything in that office is being typed into. If you're applying through Social Security for disability, it's Maximus that approves you or disapproves you. You never hear about it. You think you're talking to a government employee. You're not. You're dealing with Maximus. Why is that?
Wow.
Why is it a secret? Why is no one talking about it? That's when you know it's a problem. The deep state that's running the world is you don't know their names. The names those aren't the people. They're so secretive. They're so wealthy. They're so buried. You don't even hear about them. But Maximus, you don't hear about. But that is.
I'm going to be doing some research on that, Maureen. So, your guy has my email, so just shoot me everything you can over, because like I said, I'm never afraid to look at new things. And for something like this, just shoot that over me. I would really, really appreciate that.
There's an expert on it. Her name is Claire Best, and she's done incredible research on it. I've spoken to her numerous times on the phone, and she would be a fantastic person to have on, Ann. You really should. She's a wealth of knowledge. She's written a number of articles on it, and she's done some deep dives. It's terrifying what she's unearthed.
Yeah, please do. Please let her get in contact with me. Love to have her on. I'm making notes as I'm talking to you. So if you see me turning my head around, I'm jotting things down because I would love to run with this. Through American Made Foundation, you do a lot of educating, equipping, and empowering American citizens, as you write on your thing, for civic engagement. And this is something that I've always been saying. I still run a Tea Party 16 years later. We started in March of 2009, and I've been keeping it alive and active in it, where we actually have been confronting our local government and changing things. But I always say politics starts at home. It starts with your local municipality, your dog catcher, your school board. You need to know and get involved in who's, where, and what, whether it's you're writing an editorial or you're sending a letter to your elected official about something. But the more you engage, the more they're going to be looking and listening.
Absolutely. That's General Flynn. That's always been his thing of, local action, national impact. We all need to clean up our own backyard first. And everyone needs to get involved right now. This is an all hands on deck moment. We got to clean up this mess. It's our fault. We have it in a way. We were all asleep at the wheel for generations. And now, they've come so far. The pendulum has swung so far the other way. So it's going to take everyone getting involved. But I want to mention, I know you mentioned American Made Foundation. We have American Made Action, and that is really, that is our legal arm. That is our political arm. That is the activist arm. The foundation is documentaries and education. And there's classes on there people can take to learn how we've lost our constitutional republic, how we get it back. You need to know who you are so you can stand in your own power. The government derives its power from the governed, and the creator, which is us, we created the government, can never be, the created can never be above the creator. So we created the government. They're never above us. They think they are. They think they're in power. And, I think the American people have news for them. So we have to have that big pushback this year. And I think we're really starting to see it. I heard you mentioning earlier with the guests I was in the backstage. The American people are angry, and I mean the pulse out there. They're furious. Glenn Beck and Steve Bannon did a show on it a few weeks ago, and it was a really interesting conversation. It wasn't like a formal, interview. There was just sitting there talking about their audiences and the feedback they're getting, and just the American people are spitting nails, and they want to see arrests. They want to see accountability. And so that's what American Made Action is about. We're about bringing that accountability. So we informally announced in front of the DOJ, the Department of Government Accountability, and underneath that. And so that is really a grassroots movement of we the people, bringing notices, affidavits, and following up the legal action that the United Law Coalition is going to be taking. So the cavalry has arrived. Everyone has been waiting for it. We have over 1,000 attorneys, 2 retired judges who've come out of retirement just because they cannot bear to see the Constitution, the supreme law of the land being trampled on, and they are helping us craft strategy. The first state we're going after and the first agency is CPS, and we're starting with Massachusetts right now. So we're going to be launching major lawsuits against judges, against CPS, the workers. We're going after the minions, these people that are just checking boxes, destroying families. It's state-sanctioned kidnapping. And there no more are you going to be able to hide behind the corporate cloak that, oh, I was told I had to do this, or I was told this is what I had to do. People are violating, people's unalienable rights, trial by jury, the assumption of innocence until proven guilty, the overturning of the Chevron deference in July of 2024, where they said you can't rubber stamp what agency says anymore, judges, and they're doing it anyway. And they're removing children from homes. That's your possessions according to the Constitution. You can never be deprived of your property without a trial by jury of your peers, and they do it every single day in family court. Just a statistic. In Massachusetts right now, Ann and Curtis, there's 8,000 children in CPS programs and involved with CPS. Only 48 of 8,000 of those cases were the children removed for just cause and just reason. That's like less than 1%.
Yeah,
That's
I used
not a very good success rate. Also,
I worked in Boston for 2 years, and I had lived in Waltham, and I know how liberal Massachusetts was back then in the 80s, and I've seen it go crazy. When we were lobbying. When we were lobbying for FAIR, I was listening to some of the sheriffs and police chiefs saying how bad it was trying to get cooperation between, INS or any other federal agency for law enforcement and law enforcement. It's like, no. You can't know what we're doing, and you've got to do what we're telling you to do. And that's what we're seeing here. The liberalism has gone amok.
Oh, yes, but it's all with CPS, which is Child Protective Services. And it operates under different names in every state. So it could be DCF, Department of Children and Families, Department of Children, Youth and Families, Department of Social Services. It operates in every state under a different name. But it's, the Bureau of Children in DC, that's under HHS. And then, every state, it's different. But when Hillary Clinton wrote the Adoption and Safe Family Act, and like every act that the selected officials write, it says one thing, but behind the scenes, it's just the opposite. And that's really what put a price tag on kids' heads. And that's where this whole system went really sideways. Whenever you monetize it like that, it's ripe for, just corruption. And our most vulnerable, our children are going missing. The foster care program is despicable. 85%, and not all foster families are bad, but 85% of them are, I'll tell you that. 85% of children that go into foster care are abused sexually or physically. And when you have 8,000 kids that are taken from their families, and only 48 of those 8,000, it's justified. So you're taking kids that aren't abused and putting them into abuse. And we've had over 400,000 children just go missing. I mean, missing without a trace. Not that they showed up at the 7-Eleven in a diaper, wandering the streets, and someone, picks them up. And where are you from, buddy? Like, these kids are just gone. And it was Pompeo, when he was Secretary of State, he had done a missing persons report. They have to do one every year. And he said then, and this has gone completely uninvestigated, he said then that the #1 purveyor of children into sex slavery in the United States of America is the foster care system and CPS. That agency should have been destroyed a long time ago. And the fact that no one's even looking into it after the Secretary of State noted that, and our own accounting is going, we've lost 400,000 kids. We don't even know where they are, that this is okay. I know whistleblowers that have brought information to the FBI, and nothing is done with it. Where they're showing databases showing that we're putting these kids, like hundreds of kids every month, in the same foster home. How does that happen? And then they're gone. You don't even see those kids. It's amazing. They keep sending them back to the same foster home, and then the kids go missing. But they don't.
I'm wondering what's the money? Is there
the federal government? You get more money. In the sex slavery business, I mean, babies, we usually get about $2 million. I mean, the money on these children's heads is just unreal. From the cartels, from, the United States of America is the largest consumer of child sex slaves. They're kept in cages. I've seen the videos of it. I didn't sleep for 2 weeks. I mean, children with their arms severed, their limbs severed, so they can't fight back. When there's videos of children being stuck in the heart with adrenaline to keep them awake, to keep them alive. It's just the horrors our children are facing. And one of the biggest purveyors of this, even according to Pompeo, is CPS. And so all of that links into, we see the wildly corrupt judiciary we're dealing with. These are family courts. These are unconstitutional courts. And these judges are all part of it. So, the fact that, your kids are removed with no trial by jury, there's no presumption of innocence. You'd have a better, if you murdered someone, you'd have a more fair trial. They're rubber stamping CPS, and this is an $80 billion a year industry in this nation.
Well, we've got 300,000 of the illegal alien children that we're trying to account for that disappeared. Add in the 400,000. That's almost 750,000 children. And but we talk about the illegal aliens, but we're not talking about our own.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, we're not. And it's our own children that are going missing and getting taken, and right from nice families. I mean, middle class families that there's never been a complaint, never an issue, never a bruise on these kids. They're well fed. And, I have one horrible story out of Arizona, this 14-year-old girl, because the teachers are part of this now, telling kids, if you don't like what your parents are doing, you call CPS on them. I mean, it's so bad what is happening. And I have videotape of that too, right out of the classrooms where some kids were videotaping it. But this is what the teachers are telling them. So a 14-year-old girl, we all have kids, we've all raised teenagers, and she was angry. She wanted to go to a party. Her parents said no. She called CPS, said that, her dad hurt her. And there isn't a bruise on this kid's body. They have a beautiful home. They took that little girl. She was raped in foster care. You're supposed to reunify the family. They had nothing on this family. And it's been 10 years since they've seen their beautiful daughter, and she's off the rails now. I mean, here she was, just a normal, beautiful 14-year-old girl. She's now 24. And they haven't seen her since. But she was raped, and now she's a drug addict. She has mental health problems. But because she made one phone call, and CPS should have said, what's going on? But they love it, and they've trafficked this little girl for years, and now she's mentally ill. And this is what happens to so many. So there's so many heartbroken parents. And then, what happens to the parents is you run out of money trying to fight it. You become so depressed, so despondent. You're up against this machine. Eventually the parents just have to stop. because you're just never going to win. But there's some that keep going and some that do win. And our job is to just to cut the head off the snake, to get rid of this horrible agency and to just demolish these lower courts that are unconstitutional. It's deprivation of rights under color of law every single day. And I'm going to say that every single judge sitting on every single bench in every single court, every single family court in this entire country is a criminal in a black robe, and they should be arrested. They should be handcuffed and put in a jail cell. They're all criminals, and they're all complicit in this.
Wow. We're down to our last few minutes here. Wow. I had a whole bunch of other questions for you, but this has been fascinating. You've actually opened my eyes into something I think we need to delve into and do a bunch of shows on this to get the word out. And I will be doing my research, and you just please send me anything and everything, and let Claire get a hold of me. I'd love to have her on and talk about this, because if you add in what the family courts are doing in the case of child trafficking, what else are they doing now when they're taking the children away from the parents, when the child says, I'm not a boy, I'm a girl? And that's a whole nother gambit to be adding in. What they're doing is, if they can't stop us from reproducing our children, then they will destroy our children. So whether it's abortion or they're destroying the child. You can't kill it in the wound. They're going to kill it outside the wound. And that is what they're doing to us. We're losing a whole generation of kids. And it's going to destroy us.
I'd say a couple now, and that great saying, you can judge a people by how they treat their children and their elders. And America's losing on that one. We've treated our elders terribly, and we are not protecting our children. So when you go on our website, and you'll see that the DOJA, the Department of Government Accountability website, is an eagle and a wolf. And wolves, they flank their elders, and they flank the sick, and they flank the young, and they put them in the middle. And you have healthy wolves on each side. And that's exactly why we use the wolf in the emblem. And it's really important that we all start doing that. We need to take better care of our elderly, and certainly our children. Our children are suffering so greatly.
Well, Maureen, people can learn more about it by going to AmericanMadeFoundation.org. You've opened my eyes to a lot of stuff, and I'm glad I had you on there. And you got to have to come back along with Ann.
I'd love to. And it's AmericanMadeAction.org. That's where you'll find DOJA and the Department of Government Accountability and the United Law Coalition, and where people can take action today. I know people out there feel hopeless. What can I do? You can go on there today. You can sign a notice that's on there. It'll go right into Pam Bondi's inbox. This is for judicial corruption, and we're going to have more notices going up there. So when we file these lawsuits, we want the American people flooding inboxes with these notices, directing our public servants, because that's exactly what they are, and they must do the will of the people. It's not their will that will be done, it's our will that needs to be done. And so, this is where the American people can come together and really take action, and we've made it very simple for everyone. It's an electronic signature, send, boom, it's right into their inbox.
Fantastic. Well, Maureen, definitely have to have you come back on. It has been a blast. And God bless you for the hard work you do.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Curtis. Great being with you today.
Okay.
Yeah, come back.
All right. Man, wow. Did I just learn a heck of a lot. I was not prepared for that, but I'm glad. And we'll definitely will delve into this further. Next week, we've got Mark Kwan on. He's got that book about don't pay taxes. And how to make yourself a millionaire. I've got to sit down and read it now before the interview. And we'll be back next week, just same bat time, same bat station. Until then, I say good night and God bless.
I'm praying for this land I love, America, America, the home of the free. But there are people making plans to change America. They've no respect for her or what matters most to me. That's why I stand for the flag and I kneel at the for the friends I have loved and lost. And I still believe in God we trust, and the freedom our forefathers granted us. I hope it's not too late to save America. Do you hear our battle cry across America? We've got to rescue her. You know it's up to me and you to see the truth behind their lies. Don't change America. God bless America and the red, white, and blue. That's why I stand for the flag, and I'm here at the cross. Long for the friends I have loved and lost. And I still believe in God we trust, and the freedom our forefathers granted us. I hope it's not too late to save America. For the friends we have loved and lost, and we still believe in God we trust, in the freedom our forefathers granted us. We know it's not too late to save America. Save America. Let's save America. Together we can save America.